Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Karen Marsdale. I'm Senior Vice President at the Greater Reading Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and welcome to Member Spotlight. Today we have with us Phil Frassinelli, who is with Spherion Staffing Services. Phil, I've known you for a number of years in your role, and staffing industry, lots going on in that particular industry. But before we get to what's happening today in the industry, talk a little bit about yourself and how Spherion came into your world.
Sure, very simple, Karen. Thank you, first of all, for having me here.
Our pleasure.
It is. We actually, both my father and I started this business, and my mother, she's the principal owner, so I want to be
Let's
clear
not
from
forget
that
that. That's very good.
We started in 2009. Both he and I were actually employees of Spherion. So
okay.
I worked in the greater Philadelphia market, he worked in the northern New Jersey market, and we came in contact with some owners. Now Spherion was a $2 billion company, so we hear an owner and we're like, what exactly does that mean? So we did some investigation, and they actually had a great program for internal employees that wanted to take on their own opportunities. So at the time I was living outside of Philadelphia, he was living in Allentown, and Reading was a perfect match for us. So I'm a transplant from Reading. We'll talk a little bit about how the Chamber has impacted that aspect of it, but it's exactly how we got started. Former employees and purchased the first franchise.
So essentially, you're really entrepreneurs.
We are entrepreneurs, yes.
First and foremost, which is great because that's what we love to hear, and that is a great little bit of information that I didn't know, that you actually were employees and then you decided to step out on your own.
Yeah, and to your point, from an entrepreneurial perspective, you always want to control your destiny, right? At least in my domain, and certainly my partner's domain, we thought, yes, we do work for a top tier staffing agency in the world. How do we bring a local taste to it? And I think a lot of that is what ties in here to what we'll talk about today.
Good. So looking at the statistics for Spherion, I mean, obviously huge company with just great recognition, one of America's most admired companies, Fortune Magazine's America's Most Trustworthy Company, Forbes Magazine, America's Leading Companies, among other awards. Yeah. So that must make you feel proud of the work that's behind the work you do.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, yes, all of that is great, but I always tell people, might as well say Frassinelli across the door, right? They give us the technology, which is speed to our customer. They give us a lot from a payroll standpoint, but at the end of the day, it's the people sitting in those rooms, my team, that makes things happen. So yeah, all those accolades are great, but drilling it down into a local market is what we really try to do. So there's a face behind the brand in a local area.
So what would you like to get across to the audience today? Obviously, you're a chamber member. You've been very involved, very committed, a volunteer, doing a lot with your chamber membership. But tell us what you want to get across, or tell me what you'd like to get across today to those folks that we're chatting with, if you will.
From a business perspective, Spherion again is a top tier staffing agency in the world, one of the few. What we do, and I feel like what we do differently, really is, we take the time to A, listen to our customers, right? B, listen to our employees. And I'm in the business of right fits. So, I really try to take that personal touch and translate that to the placements that I made. So that's from a professional standpoint. From a chamber standpoint, you're absolutely right. Prior to even opening Berks County, I came out a year in advance and spent time actually with Carolyn as one of my sponsors, and took me to an event at the Inn at Reading, and introduced me to some folks, and I kind of got the bug. Berks is different, right?
It sure is.
I'm a guy from the Lehigh Valley. Even that dynamic is different. But when I come in here today, I like to say, I feel like it's home.
That's great.
I own a home here. I married a woman from here. We've got a family now, so there's just, this is home to me. So that's there's a personal side and a professional side. So I hope that answers your question.
No, that's really what I wanted to hear, and I think that's great. Again, totally aside from the business and what you're doing day to day, it's wonderful when we have young professionals like yourselves wanting to stay in Berks County and seeing the value and the beauty of the community. So a little bit about the staffing world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we hear a lot at the Chamber from employers. Many times they're manufacturers, maybe they're a little bit larger size company. You can talk to a little bit about where your sweet spot is in terms of your client base. But they're always talking about getting that right fit and having a challenge finding the right people for the right place on the bus. I don't know that there's anything new about that, but it seems like there's a little bit of a talent gap, you might say, that we're hearing. Do you think that there's truth to that, and what are you doing about that?
Okay, so when you talk about my business, we started in 2009. So, and many would say that's possibly the worst time
I was going to say, when
to
you
start an
mentioned that,
employment
I thought,
agency, right?
Right on the heels of or right in the midst of the Great Recession.
Right, so 10 plus unemployment rate,
Mm-hmm.
right? I had as many candidates as I possibly could imagine in every skill set, from
Sure.
manufacturing to professional and everything in between. Turn the pages to 2016, right? We're now mid-4 unemployment
Mm-hmm.
rate.
In this local economy, yes.
In a world that there is a talent deficit, in a world where there's an aging population,
Mm-hmm.
right? So talk about that baby boomer generation of retiring, right? Who's going to fill those positions? And we're not talking about, production entry level. We're talking about,
Right.
CNC operators, operations managers, production super, levels where there's responsibility associated with the position,
Right.
and you don't see that group coming up with the same dynamic. So
Right.
I guess to answer your question, I am a talent scout. So
That's a good,
talking.
absolutely a good way to describe what you're doing, is you're really scouting it out.
I meet people on a regular basis every single day and learn about what they do, right? So gone are the days where I run an advertisement and I'm getting 100 applications,
Mm-hmm.
right? Frankly, not sure that those people are the people you want working for you,
Sure.
right? That are still available. I'm talking in different, business communities about what I do, and again, that statement, making right fits, that's what I do, right? So someone maybe isn't happy in their current role, employer looking for that type of a talent, I connect them. And usually that I have a pretty good eye for it. Been doing it a little bit of time here, despite how I look from my age.
Sure. Well,
So-
to me, everyone looks like they just graduated from college, but I know
Yeah.
that's not the case,
That's
Phil.
okay,
But
yeah.
you made a good point. So you are really a talent scout, and that is an interesting way to look at the dynamic of what you're doing in your industry. And I know we're going to have to wrap up in a few minutes, because this
Fair
is so interesting to us as an organization, because so many employers, as you said, are looking. Are there people out there with those skill sets because the baby boomers are retiring, and unemployment's going down? However, those people who are probably the most talented are employed. So to some degree, you have to kind of lure them away, if you will,
And
sometimes.
you have some, a company to company, there's some ethical concerns from that perspective,
Sure.
right? Lancaster Chamber, you're not calling and saying, hey, can I have your, marketing professional to come work for Grading Grading Reading? That's not what happens, right?
Right.
So folks like us, that's our business. Networking, we talk about, meeting people. I know talent.
Right, having that sort of sixth sense for understanding.
Quality people.
Yeah.
So I know we're getting close to wrapping up, and I just want to say, we've done a lot of business with the Chamber from a networking standpoint, from a support standpoint. I thought it was important to note that we actually got our first customer from a Chamber event.
Woo, I like to hear that.
Even better, the golf tournament. And we're
Okay, good for you.
So played a round of golf
Uh-huh.
with the prospect.
See, folks, this is, a lot doesn't change. You have to be out there.
4 hours in a golf cart next to somebody I never met before, and we're still doing business with them today. So I thought that made a little bit of sense
yeah.
to kind of give you part of why I'm sitting here next to you, to say we appreciate
that's
the
wonderful.
opportunities that you guys
That's
have
great. And
afforded.
you have to stay the course. You do that. And I just pun on, on the course, golf course, but The reality is, it's true. You have to utilize the chamber membership for what it is. And for a lot of people, it's different. We have such a broad brush stroke of members from different sizes. But thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that.
No, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, it's great. Well, it's wonderful to be with Phil Frassinelli from Spherion Staffing. Thank you for taking time, because I know you're probably out, you want to go out there search for more talent somewhere today. So
I left searching talent and I'll go back searching talent. So it truly is my pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Oh no, it's my pleasure too.
Okay, great.
Thanks,
Karen.
Phil.
Thank you.